I think a lot of PPC tools that are out there, what they really want more than anything in life is for you to just pay them every month to set and forget your campaigns. You can't do that. You have to dig in, and you have to get within the framework of whatever PPC tool you're using, get into the guts of that and find ways to optimize within those tools. It will make a big difference.
Welcome to the Ecom Breakthrough Podcast. Are you ready to unlock the full potential and growth in your business? You've already crossed 7 figures in sales, but the challenge is knowing how to take your business to the next level. Join Josh Hadley, an 8-figure ecom business owner and investor, as he interviews highly successful business owners. Get ready, because you're going to learn specific actions you can take today to help your business reach its full potential and leave a lasting impact on the world.
Welcome to the Ecom Breakthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Hadley, where I interview the top business leaders in e-commerce. Past guests include Kevin King, Michael E. Gerber, author of The E-Myth, and Matt Clark from ASM. Today, I'm speaking with Todd Bairstow. He's the CEO of Finer Form, and he's going to be sharing his remarkable story of how his brand exploded during COVID and the specific growth levers he has been using to scale his brand to 8-figure valuations and beyond. But in addition to that, you're also going to hear his strategies of how his TikTok shop sales are now surpassing Walmart.com sales. And he's going to dive into the details with us today. This episode is brought to you by Ecom Breakthrough Consulting, where I help 7-figure companies grow to 8 figures and beyond. Listen, Todd, I started my business back in 2015, and I grew it to an 8-figure brand in 7 years. But I made a lot of mistakes along the way that made the path of getting to 8 figures take a lot longer than it needed to. At times, I made bad hiring decisions. I had to take money out of my personal account in order to fund payroll because of cash flow constraints. I was stressed about whether our brand could survive during COVID because we saw the opposite, a 90% decline in our sales when COVID happened. I remember wishing for a mentor who could help guide me through the maze of scaling my business, someone who had been there, done that, and could share all the secrets to help me overcome those obstacles. And that's why I've decided to offer one-on-one coaching and consulting, where I share the nitty-gritty cash flow frameworks, the sales strategies, the operating systems that have helped me scale my own business. And because I believe in giving each entrepreneur my undivided attention, I only work with 3 clients at a time. But first, before we get to that point, I want to make sure it's a perfect match. So I'm offering a completely free, no strings attached business strategy audit valued at over $10,000. And this audit is my way of showing you that how committed I am to your success. So to our listeners, if this is something that sounds interesting to you, send me an email at josh@ecombreakthrough.com. That's ecom with 2 M's. And in your subject line, say, I want to pick your brain. And then let's chat about how we can take your brand to the next level. Today, I'm super excited to introduce you all to Todd Bairstow. Todd is an English major who made good as an entrepreneur. He has founded and bootstrapped 2 companies into the 8-figure valuations and is currently working on his e-commerce brand, Finer Form. That brand focuses on at-home exercise equipment and is one of the category's top-selling brands on Amazon. So with that introduction, welcome to the show, Todd.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
Todd, we met at Prosper just a few weeks ago, and we were doing one of the think tank sessions together. You were sitting at a very unique table where I was like blown away at some of the ideas and strategies that everybody was sharing. And I knew I immediately said, you guys don't go anywhere. When we're done with this thing, I'm coming back. I'm getting your number. I got to bring you onto the podcast because you're a wicked smart dude, and I'm excited to have you here.
Well, I think many of my family would disagree with you, but thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, Todd, why don't you give our listeners a little bit of your background? Why don't you share that story of how things really exploded for you during COVID, and what were some of the strategies and levers that you had used?
Yeah, so I have a bit of a different story, or maybe it's not for some of the folks out there who are into Amazon and FBA, in that I had the Finer Form brand along with my team. We were really a small at-home exercise and at-home fitness equipment provider. So we were selling on Amazon sit-up benches, weight benches, things that I had some connections, or my team had some connections over with the manufacturer, and it was almost a sidelight. It started in 2018, and it did modest sales, to be kind, but it wasn't lighting the world on fire. But it was enough to keep us going and to think maybe there's something here one of these days. And in December of 2019, it's the holiday season. We're ready to see how it does, and we ended up doing just under $250,000 in sales for that December, and surprised the heck out of us. Did not expect that to happen because we were relatively young. We were, just almost a year old, and it suddenly became a more serious endeavor. Well, now we have to order more product, and let's hope this is not going to fade and recede come January. So the timeline is important here because we all know what's coming, a couple of months down the road. January sales were good. February sales continued strong. And all of a sudden, wait a minute, this is really going to be something. And then COVID hit. And boy, the whole business just went insane almost overnight. We, within the span of 2 weeks, went from fully utilized our storage limits in Amazon to now they're empty, and we have to go to our 3PL on the West Coast and try and get more shipments in, or we switch to FBM to try and sell, because all of a sudden everybody's stuck at home. They can't go to the gym. What are they looking for? At-home fitness equipment. And existentially, obviously, COVID was a disaster for America, for the world. A lot of people really suffered. A lot of people's businesses, anybody who was in the event business, really had a horrible time with it. And for other businesses, a lot of e-commerce businesses, it had the opposite effect. It was a massive implosion of sales. And we did, I think, through 2020, if I remember the numbers right, we were up 6x over the previous year's sales. And from there, it's just been an all out, train to try and grow the business and grow the brand. And we have succeeded in doing that. It's still growing today, even though COVID is, more than 2 years in the rearview mirror by most accounts.
Yeah, I love that, Todd. I love that, luck is where preparation meets opportunity. And you were there at the right time in the right place, and you already had the right things going on.
It's weird to say luck, because, like, boy, I guess it was luck, but by the same token, oh boy, I don't know if I want to, you don't want to dance too much when everybody's stuck and people are, being sick and so forth. But the circumstances are what this. I think the circumstances were certainly there for us to do it well.
Well, and that's what I think is so important in business. That's why I call it luck, just because, nobody could forecast that, right? Yeah. That's not something you could plan on. And that's what happens so much in business, right? You had the opposite, reaction in COVID. I was down 90%.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's something I could never have forecasted that. We were more in the event space at that time, and we got crushed. And so what I am saying, though, is as a business owner, you have to always be ready and anticipating being able to adapt, right? You need to adapt if something happens with shipping lanes, right? Coming over from overseas, and all of a sudden, bridges collapse, or the Suez Canal, or whatever it is that backs things up. It's a constant adaptation, but it's having a team of people that are trying to grow something. And again, sounds like, your preparation met that opportunity, and you guys have taken the bull by the horns and really grown things really well.
It's funny you say that, because one of the things, I'm a big improv comedy fan. I love improvisational comedy, and not that I'm that funny, but what I found as an entrepreneur, one of the things that is really important is to be able to improvise and change your direction or pivot your ideas or come up with something new almost instantaneously based on circumstances. And COVID was one of those things where wasn't expecting that to happen, had no sense that this was going to be there for the brand, but the ability to adapt, and for me personally and my team to just switch completely into growth mode and to make decisions and to execute quickly was just as important as any enterprise planning or ERP systems or projections. I generally don't work with systems like that as an entrepreneur, but it was, I think, that ability to work ad hoc and improvise around the circumstances was super, super valuable for us back then.
So what I'm getting from you is that people need to go take some improv classes to be successful business owners.
I swear it has helped me more in my career than anything else I can imagine. So
I love it. I love it. Now, Todd, I would love to unpack some of those growth levers. Okay. Obviously, COVID and everybody being, the lockdowns and all that stuff, not something we can plan on. You were able to take that opportunity and do well. But since COVID's now in the rearview mirror, what have you been able to do to continue to grow your brand? Because we have a lot of 7-figure entrepreneurs here that want to scale their business to 8 figures and beyond. So Todd, give us some of those levers that you have pulled in order to continue that successful growth.
Sure. So I'm going to point back specifically to 2020 and COVID, to some decisions that we made then that are still paying off for us now. And I think the core of our success really points back to a couple of the decisions we made back then. So if you go back to April, May, June, July of 2020, when the world was in free fall and nobody really knew what was going on, a lot of our competitors on Amazon were out of stock, and their supply chains, the just-in-time supply chain, the hyper-efficient supply chain that they had cultivated to get their products on, suddenly was thrown into doubt, and they could not get product onto Amazon. They couldn't get product over quickly enough. And that gave us an opportunity to sell through, just on a pure unit volume, way more product than we ever would have thought. We just kept reordering and reordering and reordering almost on a daily basis to have enough inventory over the course of that time. And we did stock out a few times. But what we did, and this is one of the key things, is we had the opportunity to really jack our prices if we wanted to. And we saw other folks doing it where, hey, a set of dumbbells is now $500 or $1,000. Weight benches are going for double the price because people want to work out at home. And we made a very different decision in that we decided to maintain our pricing more or less. We had a small price raise in there, but we focused more on moving volume at that point and getting really strong numbers of units to customers and then trying to get their reviews. And so it worked to generate the sales velocity. Back then sales velocity wasn't new, but it was newish. And so getting that velocity up was important. But then getting so many reviews in from the added number of units that we put out really cemented our products in terms of being leaders on Amazon and leaders in the category. I think if we had raised our prices and really tried to make every last dollar, that A, we wouldn't have moved that many units, B, we wouldn't have seen the reviews that we did, and C, I think that we would not have had the solid foundation from a review standpoint that a lot of our products have today, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. One thing I think that's important is, like, you obviously had some foresight in that decision. There's a lot of people that I think are too short-sighted, right? It's about how much money am I making now and how can I get more of it? Whereas you will make better decisions if you can say, hey, you know what? The money's going to come in 3 to 5 years if I do these business actions now. That's a lot harder. It requires a lot of patience, a lot of determination on your part to be able to do that. But that is how successful businesses grow, right? If you can say, hey, you know what? This thing doesn't need to make money now, but this is a 5-year, 10-year plan. That's where business really starts to take off. And I'd be interested to hear from you, Todd. Like, what did you see happen to these competitors that did raise their prices? They doubled their prices. Are they still around now? Where do they fit in the competitive landscape now?
A couple of them are still around. The folks who we saw back then, there were a lot of legacy providers in the workout space, but their supply chains, these are companies that are used to making 2 orders a year, make it as cheap as possible. We'll store it over here in warehouses. They just could not turn their supply chain around to get product there. The folks who we did see were more of the FBA and the e-commerce centric players. They were able to turn around and make some of their ASINs real superstars, fairly similarly to us. They raised their prices a little bit, but not a ton. And so I think the e-commerce players in our space certainly did better than legacy brands or brick and mortar brands that were also online. That's certainly, I think, what we saw.
Interesting. Very fascinating. What other levers have you been pulling? So obviously reviews, getting a big review moat and having, really good velocity has been something that's carried you through continual growth. What other levers have you been pulling?
So the other thing, and this one more time back to COVID, because it's something that we've continued to this day, is we handled our customer service in-house, and we have a team that responds to every email, every Amazon message, every phone call. We send replacement parts. We do all of this super, super fast, but not in an automated, not with a customer service automation tool. You'll never get a ticket from us. You'll actually get an email from a human being. If something rips in shipping, a piece of leather on a bench back, whatever, just let us know. We'll send it out immediately. And we're going to tell you we're going to send it out immediately. That way you're not in limbo wondering what's going to happen. And so we instituted that back then. And you'd be amazed at how grateful people were just to receive an email or to ask a question and to get a response. It's almost anathema these days from a lot of companies. We generated a lot of our really good reviews from customers who got a product that was ripped in shipping or a piece that didn't fit properly by just getting back to them quickly and then sending them a replacement. We get so many 5-star reviews just from being that responsive. And so that's something I think as brands think about ways to grow, that's one of those things you don't assume, like, oh, could that possibly help my growth to be better at customer service? In our case, we're fervent believers in that. We absolutely believe that if you get back to people and you provide a quality product, people will read those reviews, know that a mistake was made, but a company actually tried to make it right. Mm-hmm. That carries a lot of sway with people. And so that's something we continue on with to this day. That is another one of the pillars of the company.
Yeah, I love that. Amazon took away the ability to respond to reviews. And that at the time was like a way to show hey, we actually care. We want to take care of our customers, right? Now that's gone. It makes it even more difficult to showcase, hey, we have good customer support. But I love that strategy of hey, super quick response times, letting people know where things are at. Hey, we shipped a replacement part, or we've got this other order coming for you, and letting people know. And if they have a positive experience, and especially, I feel like in customer service, it's not hard to go above and beyond because 99% of companies have just absolutely horrendous customer experience, right? And so you go above and beyond, and people will start mentioning that in reviews, even if they have a problem. yes, I had this, it ripped, but I reached out to them. They sent me an overnight shipment or whatever it is. And people are going to be blown away. And that does go a really long way.
We are all, everybody in the e-commerce business, everybody in the Amazon business, everybody who does TikTok, we are all at the mercy of our shipping partners. We're literally all at the mercy. There's nothing I can do about it. You can do about it. We are at the mercy of whoever is physically putting that onto a truck and then delivering it to a customer and so forth. Weird stuff happens all the time. And you just have to understand, if you have a product that is susceptible to, odd handling and so forth, you're going to have to work that into your business model. And so being able to respond and to get back to people is super, super important. It just made a ton of difference for us.
No, I love that. Love that. All right, Todd, what else?
What else? Okay. One of the things I'll get into PPC in a minute, but one of the other things that's super important, this is really where our team, I think, does a great job, is we were able to cut off a lot of negative reviews just by formulating the product to be friendlier. And so when you think about weight benches or exercise benches, they require some assembly. They require some putting together. The more we could cut problems off for the customer ahead of time by maybe adding an assembly step or making the directions a little bit clearer, or simplifying the process in any way. The insertion slips, call us first with any issues. All of these things matter. You can't pinpoint specifically this mattered 3% or this reduced reviews to, but cohesively being able to formulate the product in a way that will eliminate bad reviews, I think, is one of the things that goes really overlooked by a lot of folks. They just, ship it to me from the manufacturer, I'll get it into FBA, and then it'll go. I think that process of the actual consumer experience, is the product easy to understand when you take it out of the package? Can I put it together properly? What are the common issues? The more of those you can get rid of, the easier your life is going to be, and the better the reviews are going to be that are there. That's something that it should go without saying at this point, but I think it really matters more than folks think, particularly if they're spending, our average sale is $250. They're spending money there. They have an expectation that they're going to get a quality product, and that's something that we take pretty seriously.
And I would assume it helps with the word of mouth. Do you get referrals, or do you track that at all?
A lot of that comes from the reviews where people write in there, oh, it only took half an hour to assemble something. I mean, some of our things have 20 or 30 parts and they have to be put together. If you can make it easier, that reflects in the reviews, and not just on Amazon, but also, in the other places that you find reviews online. So it definitely is part of our brand now. And I say that only because people reference the other reviews when they come in and we talk to them. So
fascinating. I love that. All right, Todd, I'm going to keep probing. So what else? What other growth levers have you been using? Because you've got a lot.
Well, these are all lessons learned during, kind of that COVID period. Post-COVID, anybody who's going to be on Amazon, as far as I'm concerned, has to become a PPC expert and really understand how to use advertising on Amazon. We're big advertisers. We spend a lot of money every month on the product. It's baked into our cost of goods in the product. And we are believers that more is better and not less is better. To be fair, my background and our team's background, we had a big PPC background from Google prior to Amazon. And it's one of the things that lured me into Amazon was how their PPC system was starting to follow Google AdWords. And this, if you think about 2018, 2019, that's when Amazon PPC started to really develop a little bit further. And I thought that our background as PPC buyers would help with Amazon. And, I think in 2018, it was just maybe Amazon was doing $1 billion in ad revenue. I mean, it's 40, 50 times that now. So that is a big part of, has been a big part of our success, and is part of just our operating model, that we have to have a core, not just competency, but expertise in Amazon PPC. And that is, when folks say, I don't want to do PPC, I can't make, you should just not go on Amazon then. Well, that's my opinion. It's just, there's so much to be gained by learning to do that well, that it's a key to, should be the key to everybody's strategy once they launch.
So, couple questions on that topic then for PPC. What are your tacos right now?
Tacos, we try to stay, I don't want to give away too many numbers because we do have competitors there, but it's in the mid-teens,
Okay.
low, maybe somewhere in that area. And that we can build into the product and still maintain margin and so forth.
Yeah.
We will overspend when we launch a new product, and everybody will do that just to cement sales velocity and drive those reviews. But there's a science as well as an art to buying PPC, and you have to get into the weeds if you want to shave those 4 or 5 extra points of margin out of there. It can be done in a lot of cases. I think the more competitive a product is, particularly stuff that's easy to ship and small dollar, it is harder to find those extra points from a PPC standpoint. But when you have a higher price product and maybe not efficient, you can certainly by being a great PPC buyer, find those extra points there.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And I've heard that, Amazon's kind of taken a page out of Google's PPC playbook. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts then, Todd. Like, what are some of the things that you had learned from Google PPC optimization that you've now been able to employ to Amazon PPC optimization that does help you shave off a few of those percentage points?
So the specificity of the keywords and this is in my prior life, I bought, we'd spend a couple $1 million a month with Google, and it's not just what keyword, it's which keyword, in which phrase type, in which geographic location, with which ad, with which landing page. Like that's the old Google, conversion method, is you had to factor all of these different elements into your cost per conversion. With Amazon, it's very similar. What are the match types? What are the advertising types? Do you have different elements within a video campaign or a sponsored brand campaign, or et cetera, et cetera? And how do you organize campaigns to generate sales at a reasonable rate? Will you take sales at a higher cost for your broad keywords or your most popular keywords, and make up the difference with these long tail or very specific purchases that may only generate a couple of sales a month or even a couple of sales a year, but they're at a fraction of the cost. So digging very deep, and it would be another whole show to go into how that's all done. But digging very deep is generally worth the time and the effort if you have products that are top sellers and are going to generate a lot of top line revenue for you.
Makes a lot of sense. So do you feel like you're utilizing more exact match campaigns, auto or broad? Which ones are
we've done we do all of them. And so, back when I did Google, we didn't just run a campaign. We ran an exact, a phrase, a modified broad, and a broad. And we do versions of that with Amazon as well. And so being that specific, I think, is important. We use some AI tools. I don't want to name them here, but I think everybody would have heard of them, to help manage some of that on an ongoing basis. But managing within those tools is even, something that I think is core to what we're doing. I think a lot of PPC tools that are out there, what they really want more than anything in life is for you to just pay them every month to set and forget your campaigns. You can't do that. You have to dig in, and you have to get within the framework of whatever PPC tool you're using, get into the guts of that and find ways to optimize within those tools. It will make a big difference.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So sounds like you have a software tool that does some automations for you, but do you have a team member that their entire job is to manage the PPC? Or tell me about your team structure. Like who's making sure that software is running properly?
Yeah, so we have my partner is a PPC wizard and is really amazing at building our campaigns and making sure that we drive as much. We have to balance top line versus EBITDA, as you would imagine, and I would spend more time with that, but I think there are other parts of the business where I have to spend more time. But my partner does a lot more of that, and then works with our software team, to work within their system to make sure that we're targeting the right keywords and we're spending enough. I think a lot of folks err on the side of not spending too much, and we look at it the other way, which is, are we spending as much as we possibly can on this at a profitable rate? And so one of the things we tell our software partners is, we will be the most upset when you're delivering low ACOS, low tacos, but you're not spending enough. If we run out of budget for DSP and you wait, we're going to be really, really upset. Don't ever let that happen to us, because those are dollars that we can't go back and make up. Everybody has situations where, hey, we spent too much. We have to peel bids back. We have to get back, to profitable on these sets of ad groups or on this product. And that can be done. You can fix that. What you can't go back and do is, hey, we already spent your $7,000 this month on DSP. We ran out on the 17th. We're going to wait 13 more days to go back and do that. We hate that. We would much rather have you talk to us and say, hey, we're going to run out, but the numbers are good. Do you want to increase the budget? The answer is always yes, if ACOS and TACOS are right. And so what everybody, I think, in the provider space wants to do is, what's your monthly budget? We don't think of it that way. And it's a tweak in the thinking that's important. It's not what's your monthly budget. It's how many sales can you get at these ACOS and TACOS levels that are important to us, and we want to spend every dime we can there.
So you're just looking at it from a pure profitability standpoint.
That's
if
right.
we can be profitable on the front end sale, figuratively unlimited budget.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I tell them is, we have an unlimited budget at these ACOS and TACOS ranges. And I think that folks who, we're reasonably well capitalized, we reinvest in the business a lot. That is how we are comfortable running the business, and it's a way that we can grow and maintain our aggressiveness. I think, you said earlier, everybody's worried about every dollar, and I understand that, particularly if you're a bootstrap business or you're not making a lot of money on a net basis overall. We found we've had a lot of success by just being more aggressive and making people focus on the ACOS and TACOS, and taking that whole what's the budget out of it has been more successful.
Love that. I think that's a great methodology, a great framework, and a good mindset shift. I think
it's a mindset. It really is a mindset. It's a mindset shift, and it's so the opposite of how your your PPC management agencies think, or the agency world in general thinks. They think about what's the budget and we'll figure it out from there.
Yeah.
Understand that. It's easier for the agency to understand, but we're not here to make it easy for them. They're supposed to be helping us make money, and we're not supposed to be helping them have an easier time managing things.
Yeah. 100%. I love that. Todd, any other growth levers that you feel like have helped you continue to grow off of that success from COVID?
There are little things day to day. We try to, and this was successful in my last business as well when I was with Google. We tried to follow in my last company to follow Google's instructions or follow Google's lead as much as we possibly could. And so, when Google says try this, this, and this, or formate campaigns, we would do that. We would make wholesale changes to really follow their advice, because ultimately their algorithms and their ability to show our campaigns was going to improve based on our compliance with their terms. Amazon's the same way. Everybody loves to complain about Amazon and they did this and they did that, and I understand. I have lived it. I have lived it and died with it. It's very difficult sometimes, but the idea of really focusing on what Amazon wants, from how you treat a customer to how you handle shipments to how you do PPC, all of these little things I think that they ask, we try to follow as close as we possibly can to their guidance, because ultimately they're the ones who have to show our products, and they're the ones who have to get us to the top of the page when somebody's making a decision. And so the more closely we can hew to their guidance and their terms of service, the better we found things have been for us.
That makes sense. Are there any specific, developments that you've been, paying more attention to and putting more emphasis on than maybe some of your competitors or not?
The one thing, we don't do anything that's even slightly black hat or any even grayish. We don't do any of that stuff. And, we have seen competitors try to put different products on an existing PDP. And, we had one competitor who went from 200 reviews to 20,000 reviews literally overnight. And hey, what they got from trying to do stuff like that was 6 weeks of increased sales, and then they got taken down completely. So we stay as white hat as we possibly can be whenever we can. We're constantly monitoring account health, voice of the customer, anything to do with brand registry. So we're in there every day as a matter of process, trying to respond to and fix any issues that are there. If you have that kind of day-to-day resolve, again, you won't see, well, did that mean 2 points today? Does it mean 4 points over a month? It doesn't matter. It's going to, in the end, help you scale out the business, because you're going to have, knock on wood, a clean bill of health as far as Amazon is concerned.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. We have a team member that is 100% dedicated to our Amazon account health. That is her title, Amazon Account Health Manager. That is all she does, is making sure, going back and forth with our SaaS core manager and anything that ever pops up to make sure, are we compliant? Are we doing the things that Amazon wants? And are we rectifying anything that does pop up, right? Because it's bots. At the end of the day, it's bots that trigger something, you review it. But at the end of the day, if you play nice in Amazon's world, and I think, again, do you have a 5-year, a 10-year horizon for your business?
Even for as critical as it is to maintain account health and to go through every day, we're not immune. I'm talking about my company, and specifically for as strong a job as we do, we're not immune to hiccups. Product listing gets taken down, account health comes with an issue. And what I have found is that if you can build a relationship with somebody at Amazon, it's worth 1,000 emails back and forth with Seller Central and help and all this. It's incredible the amount we were able to accomplish just by having a relationship with our account manager who could help solve some problems, who could give some advice, who could take a problem that may have taken weeks to solve via emails back and forth with wherever they're being answered, and just escalating internally with one person, and the problems, they just get solved so much more quickly. Everybody has the same frustration about AIs reading emails and then reporting on that to another bot and finally to a person who doesn't understand it. If you can develop a one-on-one relationship like we have had with a couple of our account managers, it really makes a huge difference and will reduce your headache by 90% to be able to go to them. You'll still have to put a case in. You'll still have to go through the motions there, but knowing that there's somebody who can read it and understand it, help point you to a solution, if not provide a solution, has been super helpful for us.
Yeah, I echo those same sentiments. Are you saying you're in the SaaS Core program? Is that the account manager you're referring to?
Yeah, we have an account manager that we were given a couple of account managers. They've been terrific. They really have been good. And we meet with them once a month. We specifically try not to give them or go to them with anything that's small or can be dealt with through emails. We only talk to them about the really frustrating or difficult issues or problems that we can't solve through normal Amazon channels. So having one of these account managers is not a license to unload your to-do list on them. Rather, if we've tried through a number of different avenues to solve a problem, we can't get a person to understand something, we will then go to our account managers, and they almost always have a better solution for us, whether it's because they're efforting it or because they have run into this before and they can point us in a better direction. So those, when you get to a certain level of sales, I think it becomes worth the cost if you're going to do it, because I think a lot of people in the FBA world, the Amazon world, they find a sense of odd fulfillment in bashing Amazon and a lot of their internal processes. You just have to know that's part of the deal doing business with them, and finding ways to work within their system rather than trying to fix their system is going to be a better solution for you.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Todd, let's point our direction in this last few moments here to TikTok Shop. So you had mentioned that TikTok Shop is generating more sales for you now than even your Walmart channel. Mm-hmm. So tell us, everybody's going to be asking you this question: how are you doing this? So tell me, Todd, how did you get on? When did you get on TikTok Shop? And then what are the things that you've been doing specifically on TikTok Shop that have gotten you to where you are now?
Sure. So number one, I was never a TikTok believer. Completely not. I had watched the videos. I could not wrap my head around it. But I saw my kids were on it, and I saw their babysitters were on it. So it took me a little while to come around to reality. Whenever you get to be my age, I'm 51 now. This is the age where you stop liking new things. TikTok is one of those new things. But we had heard anecdotally through some friends that TikTok Shop was working for their products. They were generally lower priced products. We weren't sure if they're going to work for our higher priced products. And we did we did some TikTok videos, and we saw some minor results. And this would have been probably a year ago, maybe 16 months ago. And TikTok Shop took a little while to really have the functionality that I think was promised at first, and they've gotten better now. and we kept hearing about these other companies that were doing really well with it. And one of the things that we found was that, number one, we were shooting our own content. So we turned my office into a social media studio and started to have some fitness models and even myself, God forbid, doing some of the videos. And we could not specifically say, yes, it is having an effect on Amazon, but it felt like that. It felt like there was a bump. We got some things to go viral. We had one video that did 33 million worldwide views, and we were getting messages from all over the world about some of our dumbbells. And when you see that, all of a sudden the bell goes off, like, wait a minute, this may not be a perfectly formed solution yet, but you just don't get reaction like this unless something is happening. And so we started to put more time into TikTok Shop. And by that, I mean, we hired many more creators. We started to figure out, how does TikTok promote a video? How do you get to a level of virality with videos that are going to make a difference for you? And we hired a lot of individual creators. We sent them free product. We had them shoot videos and upload to their TikTok channel. And it seems almost like the brute force method of going out to so many different folks and having them post in a fairly close period of time helped boost the amount of views and ultimately the amount of sales that we saw out of our TikTok shop. This is not a situation, this is contrary to my instincts. It would have been contrary to what I would have thought from my old ad agency background, that you just do a couple of really well-produced, manicured TikToks and then hope that those go viral. We found that there's a greater benefit to having more and having people from different handles posting about your store and your product, that was able to generate sales that we weren't sure were ever going to happen, but then they started to happen. And suddenly it's 3% of sales and 4% of sales and 5% of sales. And over the holidays, we were just really pleasantly surprised at how TikTok was able to add to our direct sales to our Shopify site, which is TikTok Shop through Shopify to us, but then also to, we think, add to our holiday sales as well. We had a really good Q4 last year.
Amazing. So, Todd, let me unpack that just a little bit here. So you do post your own videos to your own account.
Yep.
Have those videos gone viral? Like your personal ones you guys have posted on your own account?
Some of them have. And
okay.
this is where it's just so different for somebody like me, where I used to work in an ad agency and you did a commercial for a bank or a car tire and you hope that did well. With TikTok, it's a much more constant, the constant nature of it is, you're going to get 500 reviews on 10 of your videos, but you're going to get 20,000 on that 11th video. And then on that 125th video, you're going to get 1 million. And then on that 500th video, you're going to get, 30 million. And my ability to predict the success of individual videos, almost zero. You have to follow. One of our most successful videos of all time is literally just a hand picking a weight up and placing it back in, picking it up and placing it back in. I can't explain it. It doesn't make sense to my artistic brain, but something within that movement and that format just works. And so we've had to follow that stuff quite a bit. There is an element of luck to it, as there is in everything, but with TikTok, it's the same way. You don't know what the number of videos that they're going to be hit with every day is going to be some number of million, and a certain portion of those is going to do well. You're never sure which one it's going to be, but it's been big enough so that it's now bigger than Walmart. we at home, it's bigger than our straight Shopify sales right now. So we have high hopes that TikTok is going to become, what kind of Facebook and Instagram used to be in terms of driving traffic. And we are putting a lot of resource to it. We're hiring creators, and it's going to be an interesting way to develop over the course of, we're really looking to develop a program over the next 6 months so that when we get to October, we're ready to really have a full-blown TikTok effort for Q4 next year.
What does that look like?
It looks like having a better sense of which videos are going to go viral, making sure that we have product in more creators' hands, so that we can start to... We would love to be able to hire big-name celebrities, but we're just not that big of a brand. We can't do that yet. But can we hire... Will we have the confidence to spend money on a bigger TikTok creator with a couple million followers for Q4 next year going to the holidays? I don't have the confidence right now. I may have that confidence by going through all of this over the next 6-7 months and knowing, okay, here are what we think the predictors are for success next holiday season based on the last 9-10 months. Will that become an investment that makes sense? We aren't going to know until we go through all of this. There's an element of trust that we think this is going to be bigger. We got to hope the government doesn't ban TikTok in that time. But I think we're committed to it, and think even regardless of what the government does, TikTok will be around for a long time and become a strong second channel to Amazon that I think we've been lacking a little bit so far.
Yeah, I love that. And as you're reaching out to influencers, are you seeing that and just giving away free product?
Yep.
Are you having to pay them and like $100 per video, or are they doing it just straight for commission and the free sample?
There's definitely an audience out there. So there's a lot of people out there who just want to be influencers and creators, and they're willing at this point to do things fairly inexpensively. Our product is expensive. I mean, we're going to send you a $175 weight bench. So there are folks who will do it for free. There are folks who will do videos for $30, $40. Right now, we're looking at creators who will do 30 videos a month for us. And, what are they going to charge for that? We can't afford high production values or anything. So it's going to be, we're going to spend $30, $40, $50 depending on who it is. But to do 30 videos a month, we're testing. We're going to see what results that generates.
Awesome. I love that. Great advice. Now, Todd, we're coming up upon time here. So I love to leave the audience with 3 actionable takeaways from every episode. Here are the 3 actionable takeaways that I noted. You let me know if you think I'm missing something here, Todd.
Okay.
So action item number 1, I would say you need to look at your business and look at it from a lens of, what do I want my brand to look like 3 to 5 years from now? And stop making short-sighted decisions for your business. Don't look at those gray hat tactics or a hack that you learn on some webinar or something like that and say, it's worth the risk. If I could squeeze out an extra $100,000 this year, that'd be great. Well, guess what? What if that one thing that got you $100,000 blows up your $1 million business, right? And so doing things the right way, getting down to the basics of business, which is, look, you're serving somebody at the end of the day. You're serving your end user. The better you are at serving that person, word of mouth spreads. That's what you talked about, Todd, with the reviews. And you start to see customer service impacting those reviews, and it builds people's confidence. And thus the conversion rate for your product gets higher. And thus your organic ranking will tend to improve over time. It's not going to be a light switch that I went from 100 to 1 overnight because I had good customer service. But guess what? Over the course of 3 to 5 to 10 years, that will naturally happen because the cream always rises to the top. So that's action item number 1. Action item number 2 is PPC management. And you talked about having the mindset shift of, hey, what's my budget for PPC ads in any given month? And focusing it on, hey, hypothetically, I have an unlimited budget if these ads are coming in at my specific tacos threshold or an ACOS threshold. You keep spending, because if it's profitable, I will spend all day long. I'm not worried about any organic, cannibalization, because it's still profitable, even though it might be a little bit lower, because you're going for that volume while still being profitable. And I think so many people are fearful of that. Fantastic mindset shift. And that's coming from somebody like yourself who has decades of experience and comes from the Google PPC world, and he knows his stuff. So third and final action item is get onto TikTok Shop. If you're not already there, start creating videos for your own brand, but then at the same time, be reaching out to other influencers and affiliates and just giving them free samples. And here's the gist that I took away from this. At the end of the day, nobody knows which video is going to do well. In fact, the video you think has the best chance to succeed probably is the one that flops, and the one that you're like, this is stupid, goes viral. We've seen that with some of our own videos as well. And so it's a mass quantity approach. You just got to keep going. It's a spray and pray. It's a numbers game, and you just got to keep doing it, while also, there needs to be some level of quality to the videos, obviously, but continue to push out more and more content. And like you said, maybe it's your 100th, maybe it's your 500th video that goes viral, but that will make up for all the other 499 that you already created. Todd, anything else I missed?
That's well said. I think the thing I like to you hit, and I think this is overall, you need to take the longer term viewpoint of so many things. This has been going on since the beginning of the internet. I have this SEO hack, or I can fool Google into getting my SERP ranking up, and so forth. All that is really short-term thinking that does not last over the course of time. And so I highly advise people to stay away from that type of thinking whenever they can.
Agreed. All right, Todd, we're going to the lightning round. We got 60 seconds for each of these questions here coming up. 3 final questions. What has been the most influential book that you've read, and why?
All right. So this is an interesting question, because I was a writer for many years at ad agencies, and I used to want to be a novelist and so forth. So from a business standpoint, my favorite business book, and you can say maybe this isn't a business book, is The Big Short by Michael Lewis. And it's about the collapse of finance of the mortgage system back in the late aughts, 2008 and so forth. What was more interesting to me was his focus on people who are looking at the same business that everybody else is in, but from a completely different viewpoint, and to see how people from varied backgrounds can look at the same business environment and the same business circumstances, and then turn their point of view completely differently, was just so fascinating to me. And it's been a real inspiration to me over the years. Love that. All right. Question number 2. What's your favorite productivity tool or new software tool that you think is a game changer? So not this won't be a galloping shock to anybody, but ChatGPT is unbelievable. It helps me with so many things. I'll tell you, I was a copywriter and a creative director for almost 10 years before I started my entrepreneurial journey, and I used a lot of these different writing tools just to see, like, how good is the actual writing. It was not good. When I had a new product that I had to put up, I tried ChatGPT to write the text for my PDPs, and the text that ChatGPT sent back to me was 95% there. It's that good. It's that powerful. If you can, the whole world is going to turn into writers for ChatGPT messages. If you can structure a query to give you exactly what you want, it's just super, super useful tool. We did a 40-page PDF as a giveaway for TikTok and for Reels. Hey, here's a guide to working out at home. ChatGPT in 2 hours did what would have taken me 2 weeks. It was that good. So I'm a big fan. I use it all the time. Yeah.
Brilliant idea. Love that. All right. Last question. Who is somebody that you admire or respect the most in the e-commerce space that other people should be following, and why?
So the big thing that I do is I try and talk to other e-commerce brand owners as much as possible. And when I go to Prosper, the round tables that we met at are super valuable to me. And to be able to speak to people in the trenches with you is incredibly invaluable. And I try and go to as many of these events as I can just to pick their brains and allow, my brain to be picked. There's nothing like talking to somebody else who's doing exactly the same thing that you're doing. The one podcast that I think would be valuable for a lot of folks in e-commerce is called Odd Lots. It's a Bloomberg podcast, and it discusses the very odd business situations around the world that I think can help you understand the context in a lot of ways of what's happening in America and on Amazon from a business standpoint. So Odd Lots, they just did a podcast about how piracy affects the supply chain and why that will result in increased costs for certain businesses. It's tangential to what we do in e-commerce, but also I think super informative for folks who want to go beyond just what's in the newspaper.
Love that recommendation. Todd, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And best of luck with the podcast. This has been fantastic.
Thank you for listening. Visit ecombreakthrough.com for more information. If you've enjoyed today's episode, the best way you can show your appreciation is by clicking the subscribe button and quickly leaving a review. See you again next time.